So my name's Jack. I run one of the largest OnlyFans companies in the UK. I turned life into a video game where I used to be semi-pro Fortnite. I stopped looking at how much money can I make. If I hire this person and give them that much, and I hire this person and give them that much, I take less money. I mean, I don't know Jack Doherty as a friend. A very interesting guy. I think he gets a lot of hate and criticism. Deep down, he is quite genuine. Typically, people sign their first client within like the first 30 days. If they don't, they're not trying. A lot of people really afraid of hard work. How do you see yourself making money? What do you envision?
I know I'll find something, but it's going to be something that's like a bit of a weird one-off sensation.
I saw you're quite into materialistic things. I saw you like your cars, you like your watches.
Oh, I love them. Honestly, cars, watches, you get me a million quid tomorrow, I'd buy something with it.
But could you love her? A haunted house, or could you love me?
Welcome back to yet another episode of my new podcast, the Will Miles podcast, hosted by me, Will Miles, and today we have got on Jack Bird. This has been very just, I messaged you literally, what was it, 20 minutes ago, and you said, right, sweet, I'll come on now straight away. So first thing we can do is obviously introduce yourself. Who are you, what do you do, and why are you on the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, you caught me at a good time, Will. Thanks for having me on, mate. No problem at all. So my name's Jack. I run one of the largest OnlyFans companies in the UK. I've been doing it for over 2 years now. I mean, that's not what I like to define myself as, though. I like to define myself as a very humble, open person. You know, one thing I really stand for in life is just being open to every single opportunity that comes your way.
Definitely. Well, I agree with that. Off the beat, you know what I mean? That's what I do. That's why I'm doing this podcast, why I make music, why I do all that. So how have you got into it? What does your day look like? What is the day in the life of your life at the moment?
Day in the life at the moment, bro, is genuinely just it's pretty funny. So I went to sleep last night. I went to sleep 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I woke up at 12. Do you know what? I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here off the bat. And most people are into like this whole monk mode bullshit, wake up, stretch, meditate, don't do work in bed. I literally woke up at 12, got my laptop out, worked for about an hour, and then quickly, had a quick shower, came in here, took a meeting, went out for some lunch. I went and sat by the pool for a bit, but did more work on my phone. I was literally just sat there on my phone for like 2 hours, came back, did more work. Went to the gym, did a bit more work, had a couple calls. Here I am, man.
Sounds good. It's funny you say that, actually, because the last podcast I did, it'll be out now, so I can say who it is. It was a guy called Ty White, and he makes videos. He does kind of online money making and financial advice and stuff like that. And he said pretty much that. He said, I've never really, he doesn't trust that kind of, they call it red pill, don't they? That where they wake up, have a shower, have a cold shower, do this, do that. And just have this structured life. And he said, I don't believe in it. And he said something similar to you, I just kind of float about and do whatever. Is that how you've always lived? Have you always kind of lived quite an unorthodox life?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to check yourself. You still have to control yourself. So, for example, if you find yourself eating chocolate in bed, every fucking night, then you need to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
I am going to swear throughout this, by the way.
No, don't worry, mate.
But yeah, I mean, I'm very much a real person. Some people call it pessimistic, but I'm very real about it. And the fact is, if you do all these routines and you wake up and you meditate and you take cold showers, all this, is it really going to make you happy?
It won't make me happy.
No.
I don't want a cold shower. Cold showers are cold. Why would you want to be in the cold?
No, I mean, I get the benefits of it, but at the end of the day, I don't think you necessarily have to put yourself through that every single day. And I think I've worked hard enough to get to the point where I am now, where I can kind of do what I want to do. But I think the whole, the reason it's so popular is it's just been absolutely rinsed, and everybody's been kind of like hypnotized by it online because people running out of content to make. So they're just talking about having cold showers and stretching every morning first thing.
Yeah, it still makes me laugh, that cold shower thing. I mean, I'm sure there is scientific benefits to it and things that can, but there's benefits to us at the gym. I was literally at the gym when you messaged me. And do I enjoy it? No. Do I enjoy being tired? No. But there is healthy benefits to it. So I suppose it's just what you want to do and you know, how it works. But so going back to the kind of how you make money and stuff like that, you mentioned OnlyFans. Is that your main source of income? Is that the main thing that kind of puts your day up?
Yeah.
So how does that work? How do you get into it?
Well, that's two different questions, but I mean, to start, how I got into it. So I did social media management. I used to work for like corporate companies. I used to help them set up their social media, or if they already had it, optimize it. I was a bit of a jack of all trades, essentially, you know,
Yeah,
part fun. But I used to essentially just help people with whatever problems they had. And I used to help people with their sales teams. Like I literally came into a company to help them with their social media. I ended up fixing their sales team because they had a
yeah,
problem with communication. And I ended up spending weeks doing that. I got myself a lovely big retainer to help them with their social media. But I just felt a bit bored by it. I felt like there was a lack of freedom because although I was technically working for myself, I still had to be present physically
yeah,
a couple times a month. So it was quite random, quite spontaneous. But one of my good friends, she saw what I was doing with these socials because I always do this. I always have a close friend story and always post stuff on there. It's probably I think you're on my close friend story. I think that's
yeah, yeah,
you know. So I don't like to flex openly. If I'm going to flex anything, it's only to people in private.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
obviously, I was showing these results. I was just showing off these results that I was proud of. And she popped up to me and she did OnlyFans and she was like, "Oh my God, like that's insane. I wish I could have that kind of growth for my socials." And I was like, "That's easy. Like it's actually easier than a real estate agent. Like
yeah,
you're just not making videos." So I started helping her. You know, I was giving her ideas, I was telling her how to film, etc. And she started posting every single day on Instagram Reels, TikTok, and from there she just started getting like 10K, 20K views. Now that was great. She was doing marketing, and I did that as a freebie. I was just helping her because I had a lot of spare time. And then one day she just asked me, she was like, "This is great and everything, but I actually haven't made much more money." And I was like, "What the fuck? How?" Because she went from having like she had like 6 reels on her
yeah,
account, started working with her, and I think the max was like 2K views.
yeah,
And that probably built up over a while as well. And she got 10, 20K views on some of these videos. And we're talking like a month later. So 30 videos have gone by. She's probably had 220K reach or something crazy.
yeah,
And yeah, she was like, "My earnings haven't gone up." And I was like, "How? How is this possible?" So I looked into it. She let me log into her account, and I was like, "This is crazy. This is crazy. There's so much money here, and it's not being operated well." So like her bio was wrong, the price for subscription was way too much,
yeah,
loads of things to go into. And essentially, I just helped her with that. And I said, "Okay, I tell you what, like, let's do a deal. I'll help you with this. You give me a load of the money, and we'll work it like this." And she was like, "Fuck it, cool." And within like the second month, she was actually making double what she was making before. And by the third month, she was making triple from what the first month was. So she was actually in a mad profit. She was happy. She
yeah.
started bringing her friends to me, etc. And I just kind of grew it from there.
Yeah, well, I've always said this: it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's the fact you knew her, and then it grew from there. And obviously, you had a background in marketing and doing the online kind of sales things. So was she just doing it? Was she doing everything herself prior to you helping her out?
Yeah.
So you obviously went in, and was were these girls that do it? Are they purely doing it for the money, or did they want the freedom? Did they just not want another job? Why did they get into this industry?
That's a great question. I think most of the time it is for the money.
Yeah,
Now, you have the odd case where somebody's in it because they actually just like it.
yeah,
Uh, that's a very rare case. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it is genuinely just for the money. And I think, to be fair, a lot of people do tell themselves it's not for the money, and I don't think that's a great mindset to have sometimes. But yeah.
I think most people are in it for the money. I mean, I'm in life for the money. I'll admit that. I'm not afraid to admit that. Are you the same? Is money your main objective, your main goal?
No, no, not really. I mean, indirectly, yes. So when I first started, my goal was to make 10K a month. That was my goal.
Yeah,
To hit the ball out of the park. And then I kind of had like a bit of an epiphany where I was like, well, I've hit my goal. and what do I do next? So I turned life into a video game. I used to be semi-pro Fortnite. I love video games, right? So I basically just switched up my mindset of, okay, I need to make this much money to, okay, let me generate this much cash for everybody all collectively. So start looking at like the company revenue rather than my personal bank account. And that absolutely changed everything, because when I first started this business, I didn't know anybody else who was doing it, right? I stumbled across it. And everybody else who was doing it, like they, you know, maybe they're having 10, 20K months. I was doing like 6. And then we're talking revenue, right? So this is when I first started. I started meeting all these people. I got into like similar groups, started networking, and that's when I, you know, started having my first 10K months. But everybody's kind of like stuck there.
Yeah.
And I think having that change of mindset really got me to scale the company, because I stopped looking at how much money can I make. And it was, okay, well, if I hire this person and give them that much, and I hire this person and give them that much, I take less money, but we can generate more money.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my goal went from making 10K a month for myself to generate 100K a month in revenue, to generate 500K in revenue. And like every time I set the goal, we just kept hitting it. And yeah, that's it.
So for the future then, what's your goals? Where do you want to see yourself in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Do you think that far ahead?
I do. I do. And in the current state I'm in, it's changing quite a lot. So most people have a gap year for uni, when they go and find themselves. I'm currently doing that, I guess.
So whereabouts are you based?
I'm not. I like to, whenever somebody asks me that, I like to say I'm homeless. So right now I'm in Dubai. I'm back in the UK in like a week or so. And then I'm off to Romania for like an undisclosed amount of time. I don't really know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, Bucharest.
Yes. I did Bucharest up to Bratshop, Cluj-Napoca. It's amazing. Honestly, it's my favourite country.
So you can send me some places to go.
No, I will do, mate. Definitely, I will do. I'll let you know. It's incredible.
So after that, I'm back off to the UK for Christmas, going to see some family. And then basically most of next year, my plan is to just travel and find places I like.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I don't really have any goals. I have long-term goals, like 10 years from now, I will be settled down. I'll have a kid. That's one goal.
How old are you at the minute?
I'm 22.
22.
22, yeah.
I don't know what I thought you were, to be fair. I can never guess ages, to be honest. So
yeah,
who you met?
You know what? You're the first person to see. I just recently shaved down. I used to look a lot older.
Yeah, well, I've done the exact same thing. I had a full beard, me, and then I've trimmed it down a little bit. I was looking a little bit mad. But so who you met then? Obviously I briefed on. Obviously you know Jack Doherty. I briefed on that before. How did you meet him, and who else have you met in your kind of expeditions?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know Jack Doherty as a friend.
Yeah.
He came on our podcast. Very interesting guy. Do you know what? It's actually a great time. I'll kind of talk about it because we've got the podcast coming out next week, I believe. And he's just been in the news. You've probably seen it.
What's he done? Written off his McLaren or something?
Yeah, crashed his car. You know what? Jack Doherty, I think he gets a lot of hate and criticism. And it's not so much... I don't think it's all in good faith. I think he actually is deep down. He is quite genuine, deep down. But I think he puts on so much of an act for the camera that he's gone so deep down that rabbit hole that if he comes out of it, he'll be nothing. So he's in a point where
he's made his bed now, and he's got to carry on with that.
Correct. And all due respect to him, right? I absolutely respect it. I think what he's doing is actually quite entertaining. And I think that the people that hate on him are slightly jealous in a way.
What was he like though when you met him then? What did he come across as like? Did he seem a really genuine person, or was he a little bit I'm a star?
I've never met somebody who's genuinely a star who thinks they are a star.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that. I've never seen that before. He was I want to say he was quite calm in an overwhelming situation.
Yeah,
So everything around him, there's constantly people trying to get into his circle. The
yeah,
cameras are constantly rolling. There's constantly things going on, and he's just very much doing his own thing.
yeah.
That's what I gained from it. He's not I was gonna say he's not a dick, but to be honest, once you watch the podcast, you might go, well, but yeah, he's just very much he lives for himself. I would
Yeah,
say he doesn't really live on anybody else's terms. He very much lives on his own terms. And not everybody makes the best decisions.
yeah,
And when you're constantly under scrutiny and you're constantly on a live stream, for example, he streams like 8 hours a day every day.
yeah,
When you're constantly live streaming, you're bound to have to make a decision. And you're not necessarily going to know if that's right or wrong. For
yeah.
example, when I live my life, I'm not being filmed 24/7. I make bad decisions 90% of the time, but nobody sees it. Nobody
Same.
sees it. It's okay, and I move on. But if everybody saw those decisions, would you be the same person that you are today?
No, and I think that's what the problem people have. I think that's the problem footballers have, YouTubers have. You know, these singers, Justin Bieber, Ryan Garcia. Look at him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
look at the spotlight they put him under.
Well, also like look at the amount of car crashes that happen, right?
Yes.
Every single day. One thing about the car crash that really just tickled me a little bit differently was the fact that he had to film himself straight away after. Like as soon as the car crashed, he's filming himself.
Yeah.
That tickled me a little bit, but I guess he can't miss out on the content. But for example, think how many cars crash every single day.
Yeah.
There's no footage of it. There's no footage of it. You don't know that they were on their phone previous to crashing. And I guarantee you most people probably are in these car crashes.
Yeah. Well, and that's it as well. I think how many young people, how old is he? 19, 20s? He's my age, isn't he? How many young people crash the car? You know, I've crashed motorbikes, I've crashed, but at the same time, if you give them however many million quid and they go and buy a 765 LT or a Hurricane Evo, or the odds of them crashing goes through the roof, doesn't it? I can't say tomorrow if my YouTube or whatever, you know, I made a load of money, won the lottery tomorrow, and bought a Porsche 911 Turbo. I can't say that I wouldn't crash it. I don't know. I hope I wouldn't. But and that's the thing, and that's the problem. And I think with you, obviously, you know, you've kind of come up, and you know, you've obviously have to have a business edge and make your own money. But if you just get that money dumped on you, it's like with I find Jack Doherty similar to what Jake Paul was back in the day. You know, when he was jumping on news reporter vans and all sorts of stuff like that. And you know, these content creators do just go a bit nuts. Do you think that that's a problem in the world at the minute? Do you think social media is just sending people mental?
I don't think it's just social media. I think it's having the right people around you.
Yeah,
And I've been lucky enough to have some great people around me, some great people, and they've given me good lessons. I'm also good enough to think for myself. When somebody gives me a piece of advice, I'm very good at analyzing that piece of advice and working out if it's actually good for me or not. But in a situation like Jack, for example, and I imagine Jake Paul probably went through the same thing, you have so many people trying to give you pieces of advice that you take none of it. Or
yeah,
subconsciously, you only take the advice you want to hear because you're getting so much of it.
yeah,
And I guess you could say social media is the same thing. That's why people do their cold showers and you know do their ice baths every morning
yeah,
because so much advice they only take what they want to hear, what they think will make them better. But yeah, I think Jack, for example, is just surrounded by a lot of yes men.
yeah,
I mean, I did meet his manager. His manager's a very nice guy, but I think he could do with maybe an older role model, maybe somebody like Jake Paul.
yeah. Who's been through it?
Who's been through the ringer and can straight up give him good advice. A really, really good example of that is the Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber.
Yeah,
You know, Justin Bieber taking the Kid Laroi under his wing, showing him the mistakes that he's made. And it's the
yeah,
only way you can learn because Jack Doherty is a case study because he's one of the only people in the world that have gone through what he's going through. So who is he to learn from except for himself?
yeah. And I agree with that because I do think, obviously, he's a very, very controversial character, but I do really like Jake Paul. I've supported him through all of his fights, apart from, I think, his first one when I was only a kid. But I do think he's all right. I really do think he's a nice guy. I know a lot of people, and obviously he's got that facade that comes across just to sell his fights and to promote himself and sell what he's selling. But I think that's the same with all of them. I don't think these people are as I don't think their character is as genuine as people make out. I think people think Jack Doherty is a complete lunatic who's just running around crashing cars. You don't know what these people are doing. You know what I mean? It's like
Well,
it's
I mean, he
other
kind
guy
of
that hangs around in Dubai. Bodybuilder guy. I forgot H.S. Tiki Toki, and he pretended to crash that McLaren, didn't he? And all that. Well, that was just a big, joke just to get eyes on him and whatever, and it works. And I think a lot of these social media influencers type, and I hate that kind of saying, but are just creating this character out of themselves just to make money. And
I'm going to add a new conspiracy theory into the world right now that I haven't seen spoken about, but I've been thinking about it, and I think that KSI's new song,
yeah,
the absolute meme, everybody's taking the piss out of him for it.
yeah,
I believe that it was super well orchestrated. I think it was meant to blow up and be a meme. I think people were meant to take the piss, and they dropped it exactly at the right time as they're getting absolutely slandered for Lunchly, because now nobody's taking the piss out of Lunchly. People are taking the piss out of KSI's song, and they're still selling Lunchly. I think it's a genius master plan, and nobody looks at it and realizes that. Everybody just thinks it's he's just an idiot.
What's Lunchly?
If you've looked into it, so Lunchly was launched by Logan Paul, KSI, and Mr. Beast.
Oh, that,
yeah. And they all got kind of rinsed for taking the piss out of Dan TDM on Twitter. And they all started getting rinsed. People were trying to like cancel Lunchly or whatever. And then the KSI song dropped, and now everybody's forgotten about it.
Yeah, and it's funny. I saw that. I saw Jake Paul did a video about the KSI song, saying like Mike Tyson knocked me out, and then I got up quick, and he like falls back asleep, but before turning the song off. And I even look at that, and I think this backs up your conspiracy if it's true. But if Jake Paul, if it is like you said, all a big part of that kind of proves that Jake Paul and KSI aren't the enemies that they come across as. And I actually discussed this with Ty on my last podcast. I said, I don't think, all right, they might not particularly get on, but I don't think Logan and KSI will be making crime when Jake and KSI are about to that hate each other. I think that's all made up as well. Do you?
I don't know. We'll never really know.
No.
But I think everything online is definitely exaggerated.
Yeah. It's like when Logan and Jake fell out years ago, didn't they? And did diss tracks against each other and all that. And that just made them a lot of money. It just...
Like, they probably did have a little fallout.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's make this a thing.
Definitely. So, for you, social media, are you purely doing it to make money, or are you interested in becoming some kind of, public character?
I'm not really on social media that much. It's something I keep asking myself about, and people ask me about it as well. So obviously we have the podcast, shout out to Wi-Fi Money. But the reason I started the podcast is because when I started as an entrepreneur, I hate that word, but when I started as an entrepreneur, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and one of them that really stood out was Strike It Big. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah. Mark Tilbury.
Yeah, Curtis as well. Really great guy. Shout out to Curtis. But that podcast kind of shaped who I am now. And I think without that podcast, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I kind of, I said to Sam, let's start a podcast. And the whole reason was I wanted to kind of give back what I had received. So if I could help at least one person by, them listening to the podcast, I'm happy with that. Now, in terms of actual social media, I'm not too sure. I'm going to start posting some stuff maybe at the start of next year, but I'm just going to take it easy. Kind of focus on building the company for the rest of the year, and then figure out what I want to do with my personal brand.
I think going down the traveling route could be good for you, because obviously you are traveling around to all these places that a lot of people want to go to, even if you just made the odd TikTok video or the odd blog on YouTube. I mean, I've done all that going around Europe and stuff like that. But obviously, you've already got the kind of platform and the people subscribing to you and looking at what you do. I think that could be great for you. Would that interest you, doing vlogs or travel kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the one thing, and I think a lot of people think about this, and for them it's an easy decision. But I struggle between, obviously the exaggeration and keeping it real. Because there's a fine line of keeping it real to the point where people just don't give a fuck about what you're posting. And
Yeah,
then the keeping it real of exaggerating it so people will actually listen to it, and you can capture people's attention.
yeah,
So I'm treading on that fine line and trying to figure out which side of the line I fit on, and whereabouts to go with that line. And also, I don't want to just create content for the sake of it. I want to
yeah.
create content for a reason. And right now, I mean, it's a little bit ironic because I wouldn't necessarily recommend people get into the business I'm in.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, shout out to Marcus. If you know who Marcus Hustle is, you can go check him out, or you can message me and I'll help you out as well. We do help people start an OFM business themselves. We coach them. I do help people with it. But to somebody who's like brand new to business and just getting started into it, and they're, maybe they have wholesome roots, maybe I don't necessarily recommend the same lifestyle that I have.
Yeah.
So that's where I struggle with the content, is that dilemma of where should I push people?
So do you think your business can work for most people, or do you think it's only a certain niche of people that have really built for it?
It can definitely work. Any business model can work for anybody. If you're going to take it to millions and millions, I mean,
Yeah.
that's obviously there's something there.
So how do you go about it when you say someone comes along and they want to be coached and they want to be told how it works and how to get into it? Where do you start them off? Where is the starting line?
Yeah, I mean, so we literally will show them how to sign their first client, how to set up their agency, how to do all of those steps. Once they've signed their first client, I mean, typically people sign their first client within like the first 30 days. If you're on it and you're a bit of a guy, you'll probably do it within a couple of days.
Yeah.
But slowest is typically 30 days. And if they don't, they're not trying.
Yeah.
And then once they've signed their first client, we teach them how to set up all the social media, all of the marketing funnels. We teach them how to do the sales, et cetera, et cetera. And then what we do as well is so that's basically on a whole course, but we have a community where we do coaching. We teach people in groups how to do certain things. And then we have like these advanced calls as well. So in the advanced calls, it's really focused on scaling. So it's only for people that have 1 or 2 clients and they've kind of hit a plateau, and we'll teach them how to take it to that next level.
So as you get into it, are you just messaging loads of girls and just seeing what kind of comes back, or is the kind of have you got ways and ways through that to speak to potential clients?
I mean, I definitely have my ways. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't. But yeah, you can generalize it to just messaging a bunch of people. But it's the same with any business, right? You just message a bunch of people and try and pitch them. But you just have to have a good offer. You have to have a good offer, a good pitch. And it's also a very sensitive industry.
Yeah.
So you need to treat people the right way.
Yeah.
You need to speak to people the right way. You need to come off in a right way. I think a lot of guys take the wrong approach with it.
Yeah.
That's something quite big on. They take a page out of Andrew Tate's book. And it's a little bit more predatory on the ways that they're trying to sign people. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think to have a successful business, you have to have a fair offer, and it has to be a win situation for everybody involved. If somebody's losing in that business, it's not necessarily going to be long lasting. You might make a shit ton of money, but it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be happy with you.
Yeah. So obviously, there's a big idea online that kind of business and this online kind of making money is all a bit of a pyramid scheme. What would you say to people who say that? Because I do think a lot of it can work and does work, but a lot of people just shut themselves off to it and genuinely don't believe in it. What would you say?
I mean, so for somebody to be defensive, they typically have to have been hurt before, right? So I'll give you an example. I have a dog, right? And we've had the dog since I was a child. And our dog was lovely, perfect, never had any problems with anybody. And I mean, shout out to my little cousin. I'm pretty sure this is all speculation, right? I'm not actually going to accuse this on camera. I'm pretty sure like my little cousin, she's 3 or 4, she kicked the dog.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on purpose, but the dog got kicked, and it's a tiny
Right.
little dog, poor little dog. And ever since then, a child approaches her, she is not having it. She will
Really?
not have it. She gets defensive. She runs away. She will not let a child go near her. Now, obviously, it's going to be the same way.
Yeah.
Now, is it a pyramid scheme? Yes, technically everything is. You go to Tesco, you buy a loaf of bread, it's a pyramid scheme. Everything in life is a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
You can't name one thing that's not a pyramid scheme. But there are certain people out there who take advantage. I do agree with that. But also there's a lot of people, and obviously I see this as a coach. There's people that come into these businesses and they expect everything to be handed to them on a silver plate.
Yeah.
Where they don't do the work, and then they say, oh, this is a scam. And it's like, well, okay, we wouldn't have 1,000 people sat here saying that they're making money, and there's just one guy that got scammed for the exact same. No, that doesn't happen. So typically those people just haven't put in the work, or they've actually gone through a bit of trauma and they have, been taken advantage of by.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with that. I think that it's obviously with any business, you've got to put the effort in, the work, and learn it. And whether you're going into, whether you're being a bricklayer, whether you're being a car salesman, whether you're being a singer, whether you're doing anything like that, you've got to put the work in. And I think a lot of people, it's been spun just because it's so new and so kind of, it's put across as quite easy. But people think it's just an easy way to make money. And I'm sure if you go for it, it's like any other business. You'll reap the rewards of it and start making money out of it. But do a lot of people come in with that kind of lazy mindset where they just think it's all just going to happen easily?
I have I'd say a friend. I'd consider this man a friend. But I have a friend who posted this on his close friends today, and it really, really resonated with me. He said, a lot of people are really, really, really afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
And hard work, a lot of people will be like, no, I'm not afraid of hard work. I work 12 hours a day. I get on site at 8 a.m. and I finish at 9. But they didn't use their brain once.
Yeah.
Hard work isn't just doing things. It's actually using your mind.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people struggle with. Hard work is actually just using your mind for a prolonged period of time and
yeah. So that's the hardest thing. I think, like you said, it's easy to turn up and just do a job and for 12 hours and sort it. But if you're actually there thinking, and I have that with, editing videos, if you're there trying to think, right, what do I do this? How do I do this? How do I edit this podcast? That's a lot more hard work than just going working in a job and putting in like a 12, 13-hour shift. And I think that's the problem. Do you think people don't understand that and don't get that?
Yeah, a lot of people, and that's why, again, coming back to the question you asked previously, a lot of people come into the space and they come in with that labor mindset where, they're going to come in, they're just going to do the work that was exactly presented before them. They don't have any thinking, and they're going to become a multimillionaire. And that's not the case. You have to always be thinking.
Yeah. And you do have to have that. I know you said you hate the word, but that entrepreneurial mindset of permanently thinking of ideas. And I think, to be fair, one of the places that you're surrounded by people like that is where you just said Dubai. How are you finding that?
Oh, Dubai's great. I used to have preconceptions about Dubai. And I used to be like, do you know what? I'll never live there, blah, blah, blah. I could live here. It's people say that it's really, really expensive. It's really not that expensive. But the second you leave your house, it becomes expensive.
Yeah.
So if I were to stay in my apartment, which doesn't cost me that much, I could pretty much live on about, I'd say, 180, 200 pounds a day.
Yeah.
But the second I leave, I'll spend 400 pounds.
Yeah. So what's going on there? What's there to do? I mean, tonight you go out. What ends up happening? Where do you end up?
Well, that's the thing, right? So how do you go out? What is going out for you? That's what it comes down to, right? Because if going out is going to the arcade, then you could probably get away with spending 20 quid, right?
Yeah.
You going out is going to one of these fancy restaurants, exotic dinners. You're probably going to spend a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 or two. If going out for you is renting a yacht for the day, then obviously, do you see what I mean? The bill goes up and up and up.
Yeah.
But if going out for you is going for a 2-hour run and then laying on the beach for an hour and then coming back, you're going to spend fuck all. So going out is just really, really circumstantial. And I've had different days here. You know, I've been out on the yacht, I've been clubbing. I'm actually sober, so it was quite interesting being in a club completely sober in Dubai. Um, but yeah, I mean, I went for a run last night with one of my friends and didn't cost me anything.
Who you out there with?
So I'm actually here on my own, but I have some good friends who are living nearby. So I'm kind of just locked in, working very hard. It's very convenient here.
Yeah,
So just before this podcast, I just had some guy come and pick up my washing, and he'll drop it back like by 2 p.m. tomorrow.
yeah,
You can order food. It's like half the price of the UK. So I haven't cooked once since I've been here, and it's quite healthy food as well.
yeah.
Uh, the taxis are really cheap. Like I got a 35-minute Uber. It cost me £8.
Yeah, so
So
it's not what it isn't what people make out, is it? I'm sure if you go to these prestige places, if you go to Salt Bay's restaurant, you're going to be spending
yeah,
15 quid for a Red Bull, but it's not. It clearly isn't what they make out of it being absolutely. I bet Iceland's more expensive, or Switzerland, or somewhere like that.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's why people call it boring, because if you don't have a lot of money, there isn't that much to do. But if you're
Yeah,
locked in, it's pretty chill.
yeah. So is that somewhere you'd live then? Is that somewhere you'd want to be?
Yeah, for sure. And it's quite motivational because, of course, I mean, the one expensive thing here is going to be the rent. So
Yeah,
depending live, the rent's probably the most expensive part. But it's motivational, you know. If I want to live here, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of money. If I spend
yeah.
a lot of money, I want to make it back.
So have you just rented this apartment for a week, or for how long are you in
Yeah,
there?
so I've been here for 2 weeks
So
because I
just a
thought,
short term, you just rented it for the time you're there. You're not it's not in your name or anything.
no, it's just an Airbnb.
And how did the UAE citizens treat you? How did the people from Dubai? Did they like the tourism? Did they like the people who live there and come in?
They're lovely. They're absolutely lovely. I mean, I get in the lift. There's somebody in there. I say, "Good morning." They go, "Good morning," and they smile, and it's really nice. You get in a taxi. You say, "How are you doing today, sir?" They go, "Oh, I'm doing lovely, my friend. Great day. It's lovely and sunny. Beautiful." You know,
Yeah.
it's really, really positive here. There's not much negativity from what I've seen. And yeah, I quite respect it. Whereas in the UK, you know, you walk down the road, say good morning, and people are like, "What the fuck are you saying good morning to me?"
Yeah.
And it's quite, I think people isolate themselves. So yes, it's quite nice here. It's quite
Is
nice
it
here.
becoming overpopulated though? Do you think? Is it going to become as more and more people go? Obviously, it's such a clean, lovely,
Mm.
lawful place now. Do you think that's going to be tarnished a little bit with so many people going over?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't think I know enough on the subject. I do know that there's so many developments going on that you know they've got a lot of room. It's the desert. They've got a lot of room for people.
Yeah.
Uh, Traffic is the only problem I think they're going to have. But I'm sure with the amount of money that's in this place, they can figure out a way to bypass
Yeah.
that problem.
So you're going to Romania. You mentioned. Can you say what you're doing there? Why are you going over there?
Same reason I'm here, to be honest. I've got a couple of friends over there. I've heard it's very, very nice. I'm just locking in. I'm just finding nice places to work from. I'm going there with a friend this time, not on my own. And yeah, I'm just gonna lock in, do loads of work, find a nice gym. That's it. I'm
Where do you
a
see
simple
yourself
person.
again with the going back to the money thing? Obviously, I saw your Instagram story. I think it was your close friends one this morning when it was kind of you said, I can't believe it. You were saying most people make 2K a month, and I'm making 100 and some, 100 and some, and then I think this month or in the last 9 days or whatever, you've made 45K. Is that going? How fast is that going up? Are you going to be making 1 million a month next year?
I mean, so that's one of the creators we work with. So I mean, as a company revenue, we're looking at around anywhere from 800 to $1 million a month in revenue.
At the
Now,
moment.
what's that? Sorry.
At the moment.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So that's your cut that you showed this morning.
No, no. So that is one creator
All right. Yeah.
out of the agency. And I was putting that into perspective because of course we take a cut from that, but that creator is making alone over $100,000 a month. and they've been with us for a very long time. And it wasn't until last night that I was thinking about it, and I was like, this is absolutely insane. Because if you told me, 2-3 years ago that I would be sat there with that in front of me, I wouldn't have believed you, and I would have barely believed that it was possible. But it very much is possible. Everything's very, very, very achievable. And I think people settle too easily for what they're comfortable with. Because I used to make £1,500 a month when I worked in bars. This creator's making like, what is that, 100? Yeah, 100 times.
Yeah.
Is it 100?
It will be, won't it?
Yeah, it's 100
Pretty
times.
much.
It's crazy. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy to think about.
So you worked in bars, and I'll touch on that because that's what I do. That's what I've done pretty much. That's been my main job when I've been working. So how did you find that? Because that's something we can relate. I still work in bars to this day.
I think it was quite confident building for me because I worked in a cocktail bar. So obviously it was quite a competitive space between men. Everybody wanted to be the best flair bartender. So everybody wanted to throw the bottle better than the other guy. Props. There was a couple guys there that they still outshine me to this day. They were really good. But it put me in a competitive mindset, and it was quite nice where I was working because it wasn't so much about the money. It was more about the people, the community, the social life. But one thing I started to notice, I used to sit there and kind of look at the way the business was being run. And it used to really annoy me. It used to irritate me. Like you would have bartenders complaining about the general manager when the general manager, I'm like, she's just doing her job.
Yeah.
She might be that big, bad, scary lady, but when she fired that person, it wasn't her fault. It was that person's fault, and everybody's bitching about it. So it was all these little things that I used to think, okay, I don't really understand why everybody else is upset about this. I don't understand why everybody hates this person or why this is done the way it is. And I think that's when I started to kind of open my eyes to, these people who might be above me, like all the managers, etc. Maybe they don't know as much as I think they do.
Yeah.
And when you are somebody who's below other people in any concept, right? You always presume that they know more.
Yeah.
You always do. And I'm not saying that people should adopt the mindset that, your superiors don't know as much as you. I think that's a really, really bad way to live because you grow an ego and you don't necessarily know more, but then you start thinking you do. And I think that's terrible. I think that's one of the worst things ever.
Yeah.
You should never outshine a master. Never, ever, ever. It's honestly one of the biggest things I see people do. And those people don't want to help you anymore.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you become an enemy to that person. They don't want to help you anymore. They're now working against you. So always listen to the superiors, but don't necessarily take every single piece of advice. Because when I was working in bars, I had 3 managers and a general manager. All 3 managers were alcoholics.
No idea. Yeah.
And if they weren't just alcoholics, they were drug addicts. None of them owned a house. None of them owned a car. And all the things, I'm quite grateful that I went through that because I realized that these people weren't role models. They weren't people that I wanted to grow up to be. And I didn't want to be a manager. I didn't want to be a bar manager. But I ended up being a bar manager. I was just too good. I left the company I was working at. I went and worked at a bar up the road. They promoted me to manager. I was working there. And then one day, I just kind of snapped. It was around Christmas. I actually told this story today, and it's one that really resonates with me. And I want to find the guy who made me think this way. I want to find this man, and I want to thank him. I want to have a sit-down conversation with him, and I'm sure I will find him one day. But this guy came into the bar, so it was also a restaurant, and it was, late December, almost Christmas. And he came in and he rushed up to the bar, big fella, and he goes, "I don't suppose you have any room for Christmas dinner?" I said, "Mate, we're fully booked." And he went, "Oh." I went, "How many people?" Because if it was just him, we might have been able to fit him in. I went, "How many people for?" He went, 8. I went, "Oh, mate, there's no chance." And he pulled out 60 quid in the middle, like, didn't really show it, kind of slipped me 60 and was holding it whilst I was holding it. And he was like, "Are you sure? There's nothing you can do." And it wasn't the convincing of the 60 quid that made me want to do it. It was the desperation in his voice. Like,
Okay.
he meant it. I could tell this guy needed this Christmas dinner. The 60
Yeah.
really like affirmed how much he needed this Christmas dinner. But I was like, okay, let me speak to the manager. I didn't take the 60. I was like, look, let me check because I can't say yes. I went up to the manager. I was like, look, this guy's offering 60 quid. I say we don't take it, but we try and find him a fucking table because he's going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're like, cool, don't worry. So they basically called some people up, moved their reservation, and I managed to fit this guy. I could have just gone, no, sorry,
Yeah.
mate. Sorry, mate, fuck off. But, I was like, look, let's fit this guy in. He turned up with his wife. He had like 6 children and they had the best night. They were the happiest people in that restaurant, hands down. He was a very family guy. All the kids, none of them were on their phone. They were all sat there giggling, laughing, smiling. And it made me really, really happy. Like, I was happy to serve this table. They did spend a load of money. And I remember going over with the bill. And I made a joke because obviously all of his children weren't really like that old. They were quite young. And I made a joke, who's going to pay the bill? And he laughed and he said, oh, well, we like to play a game with our family. I can't remember what the game was, but essentially like one of the people at the table had to pay the bill. And I thought he was joking because I'm like, obviously he's the G. They're all like kids and his wife's probably not going to pay it. Maybe. And like, one of the daughters ended up winning and she was like 14 and she just whipped out Apple Pay and paid the bill. And I was like, this is crazy. What? And like this guy was just laughing and he laughed and he went, don't worry, all my daughters have my card. I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's mad.
You know that guy has fucking money, right? Because he's given his kids just unlimited funds. Like, that's crazy. Like, if you don't have much money, you're not doing that because if your kid accidentally spends too much money, you're fucked. But obviously this guy just has so much he doesn't care. And I remember going and I went and sat in, like, we had a storage room and I went and sat in the storage room and I was just like, this is insane. It blew my mind. And that's when I realized that if I want to be that guy, nobody else is going to help me be that guy. I have to become that guy, and only me will make that happen. Nobody else will make that happen for me.
I've got a slightly similar story to that. So I've worked in a certain place, and there was a guy that used to come in. Obviously, and I remember the first time he ever came in, he said to me, "Hi, mate." He said, "Put all over your Facebook now on like the pub's Facebook, free bar all night." And I went, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah." Just like laughed it off. He went, "No, do it." I said, "Well, it's not great business, that is it?" He went, "No, I'll pay it." I said, "You joking?" He said, No. He said, "I'll put money behind the bar if you want." I said, "All right." So anyway, it got about that there was a free bar, and I'm not being funny. It went from him and his mates, about 3 of them, to a full pub within half an hour. It got to, I can't remember how much it got to, but it was everyone ordering double things and mixers, double vodka Red Bulls, a million things. He drank Guinness, this guy, and he said, "Yeah, just line a few Guinness up." And he just had like 3 Guinness on the go. He only drank one of them. And it got to thousands. And again, he just whipped out his phone and just pay it at the end of the night. And that was, again, I had a similar one to you where you just think some people have money that I cannot imagine going into a place like that and spending all that money. I will do in the future. Give me a few years and I'll go and do it. But I remember looking and thinking, and obviously you were probably, how old were you when that happened, when you were working in bars?
I was 19.
Yeah, so I'm 19 now. So, we're at I'm at the point you were back then. And obviously now.
Let's talk about you, mate. Let's talk about you a little bit. What do you, how do you see yourself making money? What do you envision?
I see myself making money through, it's going to be something, and I know I'll find something, but it's going to be something that's like a bit of a weird one-off sensation that kind of just works. I'll try so many things. I make music. I've got music videos out. I've done, obviously this podcast. I've been traveling around Europe. I've worked in bars. I want to go into property. I think that's something, where I want to try next year, get a deposit down on a flat, move into it, do it up, no capital gains tax, maybe try and make a couple of grand with that, onto the next one. But yeah, ideally, YouTube, podcasts, but I'm open to anything. I'm really one of them people that's just, I want money by any means necessary. That is my main goal.
Yeah, well, I saw you're quite into materialistic things. I saw you like your cars, you like your watches.
Oh, I love it. Honestly, cars, watches, food, anything that's just like that kind of, and I suppose that does seem a bit materialistic, but I'm quite an honest person. I'll admit to that. You know, I walk through shopping centres, I walk, honestly, I'll drive. This is gonna sound pathetic. This, if I'm driving along and I saw a Ferrari the other day, and I think I actually went, oh, like just like an appreciation of it, but also a frustration that is me. Like I've got to, money, cars. I'm not one of them people that wants money for, you know, the idea of just making money and making a business. I want to buy. If you gave me £1 million tomorrow, I'd buy a planner with it. Like I would. I'd invest some of it and, you know, and keep it going. But that I would. If you gave me £1 million, 100 grand of it's going on a car. Even if it was some second-hand 911, cars, I love them. Do you drive?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a very materialistic person, so it wasn't a goal for me. I do. I have a Tesla Model 3. I got the Performance Edition. Just
Yeah.
wanted something that could go quick. I'm gonna get rid of it soon though, because obviously I'm not going to be in the UK for long.
Yeah.
But for me, it was never the goal because I think if your goal is to buy something, once you like, for example, say you're building a company, once you have enough money in that company, you're going to want to buy that thing. And
Yeah.
once you do that, you're essentially just rinsing your reserves. You're
Yeah.
absolutely drying out your reserves. And then I see a lot of people do it, you know, in the coaching. They'll make 20 grand and instead of reinvesting it into their business,
Yeah.
they will buy a new Mercedes or some shit like
Yeah.
that, Rolex or something. And then when it comes to their business, their clients are fuming because everybody else got this and they didn't.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, I
people.
know. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be stupid with it, and I wouldn't. You know, I'm not being funny. If a load of money came to me today, tomorrow I'd be waking up thinking, right, how do I invest this? How do I do that? I would. But I mean, even now, I've not got the best car in the world. I've always been into motorbikes and stuff like that, so I've had a few of them. But I could try and finance up a Mustang now, or you know, like a nice Merc, an A45 or something like that. But I don't, and I'm running something that I don't really enjoy driving. You know what I mean? So obviously you've got to be clever with it. But yeah, it is material things that drive me. Not to the point where I'll blow my money on it, but that's the overall goal.
It is just one thing that, I mean, I've seen this a lot. Like material things are great and they can make you feel good. But if it's your main, your main source of happiness, it can
Yeah.
be really, really, really bad. And I've seen
Yeah.
it destroy
Then again,
people.
I don't know if it is purely material. Obviously, I'd buy watches, I'd buy all kind of stuff like that. But I'm not into. You get these rappers who make a bit of money and they'll just go and buy a Huracan or a Porsche or some McLaren or Lambo or something. I'm genuinely a petrolhead. I genuinely love driving. I love motorbikes. I always have done. My dad was always like that. Like I'm into. I wouldn't go and buy like a brand new Merc. I'd buy like a Toyota Supra or a Mustang or a GT86. Something like a rally car kind of thing, like a proper driver's car, manual gearbox, that kind of thing. So
I see you've got a watch on there. What are you wearing?
So it's a Ralph Christian, this, and it's kind of. I've got two of these, and I've got a diesel one. And normally a few £100.
I saw you have an RM as well.
Oh, what? Sorry.
You got a Richard Mills?
No. I wish I had a Richard Mill. I've got that blue one. Is
Okay.
the Ralph Christian, and a lot of people think the Richard Mill, and I'll tell you what I wish it was.
Okay.
And the Richard Mill I would get is not identical to that, but almost the same as that.
Yeah.
And that's come back to me in 15 years, and I'll have one of them. Pep Guardiola's got one, and it's in the. I'm a City fan, biggest City fan in the world, apart from my mum. The only City fan bigger than me in the world. But literally, it's bright blue, City colours. It looks like a Richard Mill, and that's what a lot of people think I've got an RM. And one day I will, but for the minute, I've got this, and then I've got that, and I've got a gold one as well. But that's broken at the minute, so I need to get it fixed. But it's like the biggest watch. I think the face of it's about that big. And obviously, like even when I'm serving in bars, everyone's like, "Mate, how big's your watch? You need to chill out." Like,
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Are you into watches?
I have a couple of watches. I mean, I've got one right next to me here. And
Oh,
you know what? I think if you look this up, it's probably about £80.
yeah,
Fossil watch. It's actually vintage. It's from the late 80s. But it was my grandfather's.
yeah,
So he gave it to me when I was like 14. I remember I had a little level watch or whatever when I was 13 and it broke.
yeah,
I really liked it, and he came out and gave me that. And when he passed away, I said, "Do you know what? This is my watch. This is my watch. I couldn't give a fuck if it was 100 grand.
yeah,
I love my little £80 watch here. I actually bought a replica of it. I managed to find one on eBay. It was about £180. I bought the duplicate of it just in case. I've got two, so I can still wear the same watch, but I've got the
yeah,
original that my grandfather used to wear, and
yeah.
yeah, it makes me
Was
happy.
that the one he gave you? Or was that the one you bought?
So this is the replica.
Right.
I don't take the real one with me because
Yeah.
do you know what? You can't put a value on it to me.
No.
You could offer me 100 grand for that watch. Well, I'd give you the replica, but you give me 100 grand, I would not sell that watch just
Yeah.
because it's so valued to me.
Yeah. So it's funny because if I came into a bit of money and I was going to spend money on a watch, obviously you can get like, Submariner Rolexes and obviously Daytonas are in like the 20 to 30 grand region now and stuff like that. But you can get like Oyster Perpetuals or whatever and stuff like that. But they actually don't look as flash as my watch. My gold one, which is you'll see it on my Instagram, it's massive and it gets more attention than people. I know people with like Rolex Daytonas, and my watch gets more attention. It's like 400, 500 quid. So,
I do have a date just as well.
yeah,
It's got the Jubilee, but honestly, I don't wear it that much
you
anymore.
know,
No, and the reason why, I don't know. It's just a personal thing, but people do point it out, and I don't really like it.
yeah,
I don't really like it. I don't like when people point it out because then I'm like, well, now I just feel like a dick.
yeah, I know,
I
yeah,
don't mind if they have a nice watch on because then I'm like, oh, great, like, yeah, cool.
yeah,
Let's pair dicks, right? But obviously, when somebody doesn't have a nice watch on or they don't have a watch at all and they
yeah.
point it, I just feel like I've got the biggest dick in the room and everybody else is a virgin. And it's not a great, it can be a great feeling if you know you've got ego or whatever.
People you don't like, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, personally, to me, I'm like, oh, do you know what? I'm just gonna take it off, put it in my pocket, and just pretend I'm like you.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I've still got no desire to get anything like the stainless steel Daytonas and Datejust and stuff like that, where that's the thing that everyone wants to get. What I'd love to do is buy some like one of one Rolex and just I don't know why I've got this desire to just kind of ruin things, but and just like put loads of diamonds in it. If I had enough money, just put like purple diamonds in it and make it lose 10 grand of value and just if you have that much money just to think, oh, why not? I'll just like so you've got that thing, but it's like all these it's the same thing with cars. I'd buy a one of 100 Porsche GT3 RS and wrap it in some stupid color and make it look ridiculous just for the sake of doing it. You know what I mean? Become like the kind of anti millionaire.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have the money to do that, right?
I know. Then it's what a lot of these influencers. I think Logan Paul did it with that G wagon, didn't he? And just like wrapped it in some stupid color. I think Jake Paul donated his Ferrari to him, and it's at the beginning. Obviously, you got to break him in, haven't you, and make sure the engine's all right. And he just blew the engine up within about. And I think Ferrari actually said we're not selling him any more cars or something. Oh, I might be wrong on that, but there's definitely a level of money you can get to where you can just do whatever. And I mean, would you have you always wanted to kind of just be you just want to make your money and then that's it and just live a quiet life, or do you want to do outrageous things still?
I don't want to do outrageous things. I believe that I want to make a good impact on society at some point. Obviously, right now I'm trying to help young people and try and help and motivate them. But one of the main things that kind of got me started into business in the first place was being able to help other people.
Yeah.
So I would never give money to charity. I would never ever give money to charity. I would start my own charity. Or I would, donate to a charity that I am 100%, I can see the money, I can see
Yeah.
it go directly to the people. I've
Yeah.
worked with charities, I know where the money goes. It's
Yeah. No
never,
one taking a cut and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. So yeah, like I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to help. So I would rather, if I had £1 million, I would rather invest a bunch of it and just give the rest away to people who actually need it.
Yes.
Somebody who makes 38 grand a year, this is something we were speaking about earlier. They make, 2K a month, £2,000 a month. That's like an average wage in the UK.
Yeah.
Somebody who's making £2,000 a month, who has 2 kids, and they're in debt, they're struggling to make any payments on their house. Imagine if you gave that person £50,000.
Yeah.
Just imagine. It would change not only their life, but the life of everybody around them, their
Yeah.
children, their husband, their wife, whoever it is, even their parents, maybe. So I think it's always something to achieve in that sense, is what I aim for. I always speak about this as well, is a lot of people make a lot of money and then you see them driving around in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And their parents still live in a shitty little house,
Yeah.
some like mid Sussex,
Yeah.
and struggling to put their fucking heating on for the winter. Or
Yeah.
their nan can't, like, is staying in a really bad care home. And she could have much nicer for a couple grand a month, but
Yeah.
instead her self-centered, selfish grandson has just bought himself a Lamborghini. And fair play, he's made his own money, he can spend it however he wants. But personally, I'd rather give back, and I'd rather be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously that's an incredible way to go about things, and that is something I'd want to do. I'm not in the financial position to do that, with money. But I relate to that in kind of when I make music. I speak about things, in my songs that kind of I hope even if one person kind of resonates with it and listens to it and thinks, oh yeah, this guy's, because I feel like sometimes I can come across as a little bit like don't care about anything, just not bother, just doing whatever I want to do. And then if you hear certain lyrics in my songs, you think, oh yeah, maybe there's like I can resonate with him and kind of stuff like that. And I think you should literally, like you said, you're kind of not mega into the social media realm, but if your intention is to try and help people, I think spreading, like coming on this podcast and then doing it, you've got a good message to spread. I think you really should go for it in that sense.
And I hope people will listen to it and take it on board, really, with their own twist and their own perspective as well. I think that I'm gonna have to go in a minute because I've got.
Yeah, no, I was conscious of time just because I was looking at the thing.
But I mean, the last thing I'll kind of say is that all respect to the Tates, but I think there's always yin and yang in the world, and they've brought a lot of good to the world. They've brought a lot of motivation to people. They've also brought a lot of bad to the world, maybe indirectly. Maybe they didn't mean to. Maybe they did mean to. Who knows? But a lot of people take the message the wrong way as well. And I kind of want to spread the message that, look, you can be whoever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to live up to a certain, somebody else's dream. Make sure that your dreams that you are chasing are absolutely yours.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% yours. Because if you chase somebody else's dream, trust me, you will not be happy. You will never find happiness, and you will always feel empty.
Jack, it's been a pleasure and one of my best podcasts yet. I really appreciate you coming on at such short notice. I like I said, I love the fact that I messaged you and you just said, "Sweet, let's do it now." Came back from the gym, got it sorted. That's the way I love to do things. Just bang, 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 get it done. And yeah, I'd love to get you on again and talk about some other stuff. If you're back in the UK, let me know, and I'll come down. And whereabouts are you from in the UK?
I travel around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be up in Manchester for most of the time.
All right, well that's where I'm from.
Okay, yeah, I'll be up there for like a week or two, and then I'll be about 10 days, and I'll be down in London.
Yeah, well, let me know. It's been a pleasure, mate. Appreciate it. Take care.
See you later, mate. Bye bye.